Hello and welcome to another edition of All About That. Today we're going to talk about conveyors, particularly the belt system category in this shop. In the belt system category, we have Lizard S710. The Lizard S710 is used for picking up a product up off the ground and placing it onto conveyors, or if you've got a wheel loader or a universal bucket, you can load it into a universal bucket. I mean, yeah, it would be easier just to pick it up off the ground with the universal bucket, but it is an option you can do. You can have it conveyor right into the bucket. So it has a couple of features. Now, all the conveyors except for this one can accept all that product. The wheat, barley, canola, sunflower seeds, soybeans, corn, potatoes, sugar beets, dry fertilizer or fertilizer pellets, manure, seeds. Then you've got your power food. You've got chaff. You've got your wood chips, silage, straw, grade A pig food, and grass and hay. Now the Grimmy RH2460. This is only for potatoes and sugar beets. This is for loading. You can use this as a way to offload your trailers onto the conveyor system. It has a limited capacity of only 16,000 liters, but you can also use this to make pallets out of your potatoes or sugar beets, which is really good for your pig farm because they need 5% of 5% of the either some kind of root crop, so potatoes or sugar beets. Well, even at like 40 pigs, you're only going to need just a little over 1,000 liters of a root crop. So pallets is a good way to store the stuff so you can feed your pigs with it. Or you can load up trailers and go sell it that way if you want to just load up trailers with pallets of this stuff. Then you've got the Grimmy TC8016. This one is a extension, a conveyor belt extension or midline conveyor belt. It has a two-piece segment of receiving and dropping off. It's extendable and positionable. Then we have the Grimmy SL8022 Quantum. This one is used as an end line on your conveyor system. This is where you would have filling stations onto, say, into tipper trailers or into a train, or even just dropping it on the ground. But this thing has the ability to rotate side to side in a circular pattern, so you can actually spread out loads product onto the ground. Yes. So here's our actual conveyor options right here. Actually purchased, so you can see what they look like closer up. This one and all of them except for the Grimmy RH2460, you can enter. The reason for this is, let me start the engine, is once you get your tractor to actually transport these things to where you want them, you can enter them and move them around into a more fine-tuned positioning. So this one, you'd want to, when you go to use it on a bunch of product on the ground, you want to have it in this kind of position. So say this curb is a pile of grass or something. You'd set it up kind of like this. You'd want to have the front end folded up. You want to make sure if you're on manual start and stop of your engines, you've turned off your engine. And it would start loading stuff up. Now you can, if you hold L1, you can raise and lower your hitch in the back, your connection point. And the reason for this is it gives you the ability to connect onto different hitch points in your conveyor system, connect them, into systems. So let's take a look now at the Grimmy TC6016, or sorry, 8016. I thought I had that wrong. This one, the idea behind this one is it's an extension to your system. So what you would do is you would, again, drive it to the general location you want it and hop in and actually move it into position. So say I wanted to build a conveyor system so it kind of looped, kind of took a turn here. Well, what we can do is we can now rotate this over. You can also raise and lower the back end conveyor point for connecting onto other things. Then if you hold R1, you can actually slide this along the conveyor, and you can also raise and lower the receiving end. This is your receiving end where your product's going to go onto the conveyor, and this is where the product's going to come out and drop onto the next conveyor or next system. So what you do is you get this thing lined up, and you want to line it up as close as you can to that hitch point. You can slide over, and then you want to then position your hitch right over the top of that. The reason is in order to connect these, you can only connect to the front portion of your hitch. So in order to connect these two pieces, you have to be in this belt system here. And then you just hit X and connect them. Now they're connected. So let's turn off the engine on that. Hop out, and I will show you this piece of the conveyor. Now this one, as you see, it's got pretty decent attachment. I'm going to go ahead and start raising this up now. The other end of the conveyor, because I want to get this in a better position for connecting to this conveyor, the conveyor extension. There. Now you can raise and lower the conveyor on this one, and you can also extend it out so it reaches further distances. The other thing you've got is you can fold the belt, and let's go ahead and attach it. It's now attached to the entire system. And what folding it does is it gives you the ability to rotate this from side to side. And you can hire a worker, and the worker will go back and forth for you. And the amount the worker moves is based off of, if you hold L1 in triangle, you've got change angle 5 degrees, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, and 50 degrees. And then it goes back down to 50, or I mean back down to 5. So that's the angle degrees that your workers got to choose from. So let me go ahead and hop over. I will explain this a little more once we get to the actual point where I'm going to show you how it's used. But let's go ahead and move around, and I will show you some of this equipment actually in use. Okay, so here I've got a conveyor. See, we're picking up corn off of a field, and I'm transporting it along a conveyor system all the way over to a train. So this is just one example, and it shows you how you can use multiple extensions to extend the conveyor system all the way out. And then we've got our drop-off point dropping right into the train car. So we wouldn't need to move this side to side at this point. This is just strictly dropping in the train car. Alright, so here I've got an example of wood chip pile laid here, and I'm dropping it off into a conveyor belt system. And this one, I'm going to hire a worker, and we're going to go ahead and have them dropping the pile off right here. So they dismiss them, set unload here, and then hire the worker. And you're going to see that the worker is set to go back 5 degrees back and forth. Alright, now to show you, I'm going to dismiss the worker, and we're going to change this to all the way to 50 degrees. So you guys can see a 50-degree example of how the conveyor looks when it's dropping off for 50 degrees. As you can see, this is a pile of 5 degrees right here. Not very big. But as you see here, the conveyor goes out to one side. Once it hits the end of about 25 degrees, it's now going to work its way back to the other 25 degrees. And it's just going to slowly spread the product over the ground area. This is a good way to kind of spread, if you got a lot of stuff coming in, a good way to offload it and spread it all over the place when you're doing harvest. Alright, now the Grimy RH2460. This particular item is used for root crops, sugar beet, or potatoes. This opening here is designed so you can drop a tipper trailer off into it. Pause. And then back here, what it does is it brings the product up the conveyor there, across the rollers, and onto this conveyor here. This is the conveyor that your product's actually going to come out of. The reason these other two conveyors are here is the actual real life RH2460. The idea behind it is it can separate based on size. So you would have your smaller root crops, so like say potatoes, or small potatoes that would be used for reseeding would come out this conveyor. Then your medium-sized potatoes would come out this one, and then your larger-sized potatoes would drop off this one onto separate conveyor systems or separate boxes for palletizing and stuff like that. So that's why it's got the 3 separate conveyors, but this is the only conveyor that is utilized in the game. Now, to show you how it works, what you can do with this thing is you can enable pallet creation. So R1 and triangle, and you enable pallet creation, and it's automatically going to create the power. You don't even need to have your tractor on for this. But it's going to take 2,000 liters to fill up one pallet box. And once it's done filling, all you got to do is pull this forward just enough for the next pallet to drop. There you go. And there is a time delay between one pallet to the next pallet dropping and whatnot. And the reason these pallets are nice, again, is so you can use these pallets to feed your pigs. I mean, you figure 2,000 crops at 40 pigs, you're looking at almost 12 days worth of food right there as far as root crop. Between these 2 pallets, we've got almost a month's worth of food. We'd probably need an actual third pallet to make a full month of food and just a little bit over. So, but speaking of pig farming, I decided to play around with the idea of conveyors here. And I've got over here, I've got canola. And then over here we've got our wheat. And then we've got sugar beet, and then that's corn. And as you see, I've got them all set up so they automatically drop into the feeding trough area for the pigs. That way the only thing I have to worry about is coming in and cleaning up after them. Because, you know, we all know our pigs are really messy eaters. They like to drop corn. For some reason, it's always corn off in front of their feeding troughs. So you just come through, you scoop up your corn. It's not much, 47 liters of corn. But then you just bring it over here to this corn pile. Then you add it to the pile of corn. Because you're going to go through your corn faster than the rest of the crop, the rest of the piles there. Because pigs need 50% corn. Then they need 25%. What is it? 1 second. 50% base food, which is your corn, 25% grain, which is wheat or barley, 20% protein, which is canola, sunflower, or soybeans, and then 5% root crops, which is your sugar beets or potatoes. So let me show you this thing actually working. So let me go ahead and speed up the game. And every so often, you'll see drops off some food. As your pigs eat the food, it will just keep them supplied. So with the drop anywhere option and the conveyor system, you can set up an automatic feeding system for your pigs, utilizing the crops that you have harvested. And you can do this with your cows, you can do this with your sheep, you know, if you wanted to. You can even use the conveyors like this to sell off silage at the biogas plant. So, but yeah, I figured I'd go ahead and give you guys my 2 cents on what I thought about conveyors, and I actually find they can be quite useful if utilized in the right conditions. So I would highly recommend you guys play around with them, see what you think of this. Until next time, bye!